Hi there and welcome back on a rainy weekend. Today is Reformation Day, and Reformation Day is a religious holiday here in Germany. And this means, you guess it already, no power tool on a religious holiday. On top of this, it's raining the entire weekend, and this gives me a big problem because I just thought what to show my viewers this weekend when I can't use power tools and when it's raining outside. So my idea was just to have something to show you, or just to tell you that I would tell a little bit about the little community that I'm living in here, and as well that I will answer some of your questions, because last week I haven't been able to read all your comments and to answer to all your questions. So it will be a mixture out of Grandpa André tells a story and a Q&A again. Let's start. I've got my cheating sheets here again, and therefore I will answer your questions in random order, so there is no particular order. A question that I really like was, what will you do with all those apples that you have, or that there are still on the tree? Well, we had apple pie over, I think, the last 4 weeks here, so I can't stand apple pie anymore, although I like apple pie with cream, but in this case it was a little bit too much. We produced apple juice as well, and everything that you can do with apples. But to be honest, most of the apples we give away to our neighbors so that they can bake and produce juice or whatever you can do with apples. So this is what we normally do with apples every year. Why didn't you use a leaf blower? Usually I use a leaf blower, but in this case all the leaves are wet or were wet, and so in this case it's much easier and quicker to do it manually instead of using a leaf blower, and that's why. But usually I use an electric one, which is a little bit more quiet than the other ones. What do you do with all those leaves? Do you throw them away? No, I don't throw them away. All of those leaves, or everything that I pull out of the garden, I compost, so everything will be composted. Does this word exist? Composted, and will return to the garden some years later again. So for example, the new lawn in the new tiny house is completely on compost from the last, or from previous years. Maybe that's the reason why it's still green and still growing. Too many ads. Some of you complained that there are too many ads, and the problem is that this is not in my hands. So as a YouTuber, you can only decide, will there be ads in your videos or not? Do you allow YouTube to put ads into your videos or not? And so you don't have any opportunity to choose how many ads and where and when and why. And so this is not in my hands as a YouTuber. And because it helps me a lot to have those ads, as I already mentioned in one of my previous episodes, as I said, it's not in my hands to decide when those ads will be or where and how many. So this is completely on YouTube, not on me. But I do apologize if it gets on your nerves or if it's a little bit annoying. What was the name of the song that you played when you removed the fascia board? This is one of those questions that I can't answer. Well, I could answer, but to be honest, I never take notes on those titles. So as I mentioned before in one of my previous episodes, all my music is from epidemicsound.com. It's a platform especially for YouTube creators or for creative people where you can download some royalty-free music. So and therefore I never take notes on those titles. Why not adding skylights to the tiny house? My problem is that the roof is not very steep. I think steep is the English word. So when a roof is like this, it's much easier and much better to add skylights. But when a roof is like this, as it is on the tiny house, all the dirt from the rain and the leaves and whatever will remain on those skylights, and those skylights very easily turn green, and it's very hard to keep them clean. And it's much easier when the roof is much more I think steep is the word, when it's like this instead of flat. Anyway, so that's the reason why I wouldn't like to add skylights, because my concern is that they become green. How big is the house? Both houses, the one that I'm sitting in right now and the new one, are very small. They are 40 square meters, and I found out that 40 square meters are 430 square feet in square feet. 430, so it is quite small, and I think it's fair to say they are tiny, especially to American measurements, so they are quite tiny. Tools. What will you do with your tools once the new house is finished? This is a very good question, and to be honest, I don't have an answer to this. So maybe I will have to build a little shed or whatever, although I'm not allowed to build anything here on the property. As I already mentioned before, everything here is grandfathered. So I'm only allowed to renovate, I'm not allowed to extend or to build anything new. And if I would build something like a garden shed or something like this, this would be illegal, and I can only hope that nobody will recognize this. So it is a very good question. What will you do with your tools? I don't know, to be honest, as of yet. And another one. Your tools have become more and more professional over the episodes. That's true. I did buy some very good things, and this is mostly because of my preference. This helps me very much. So this gives me the opportunity to buy those things. So a big shout out, a big thank you to all my patrons. Anyway. What was the spray paint that you sprayed last time to the substructure or on the substructure? I looked it up. The English word for it is a rusty metal primer. So it was just spray paint, but as a primer. And it was quite nice because you can spray directly on the rusty metal. You just have to remove the surface rust and then you can spray it. But this is just a primer, and I painted the real paint afterwards, but I think you saw it in this episode. Corrugated sheets. Yes, the corrugated sheets are my biggest problem right now at the moment, because as you saw, I removed the plastic corrugated sheets, and well, I'm not able right now to buy exactly the same in a new version again. And as you saw, the plastic sheets were directly underneath the tin sheets. So therefore there was no interruption between the tin roof and the porch roof, so that the water could flow directly from the tin roof on the porch roof into the what's the drain spout, whatever. So and the problem is that I am not able so far to buy exactly the same corrugated sheets with the same type of waves, so that I can directly put it underneath the tin one, but I'm still investigating on this. Did you crash your drone? There are no drone shots anymore. Yes, in one of the previous episodes, I think it was 10 or 12 or whatever, there have been brilliant drone footage, pictures. And maybe I didn't mention this because the drone was not mine. It was one of my friends, and he was here to visit me, and he took those pictures. And that's the reason why there are no more drone shooting, no drone footage anymore, because I don't actually have a drone. You should use more safety gear. Yeah, that's true. I always forget to use safety glasses and ear protection, but it's definitely true, and I will have an eye on it to be careful and to use it much more. But that's absolutely right. Why didn't you use an angle grinder with a wire wheel to de-rust the substructure? Well, the answer is quite simple, because I only have a very big one. I don't have a small angle grinder, and as you saw, I'm not that good on ladders, and I didn't want to stand on this ladder with a huge angle grinder in my hand. That's the reason why I didn't use it. Did you finish the battens under the left windows? Yes, I did already. But it is currently raining, so I can't show you, but I did. What's next? What will come after the tiny house is finished? That's a good question. To be honest, I don't know, but right now, as it is, I think this will take at least another year until everything is finished. You might know that I work as a teacher, so I'm not a full-time YouTuber, so everything that you see, everything that I produce, I can only do on Saturdays. So from Monday to Friday I work as a teacher full-time. On Saturday I am a builder, I'm renovating the house, and on Sundays I edit all the footage and upload it on YouTube. And on Monday I'm a teacher again. So that's the reason why there is just something like 10, 15, sometimes up to 20 minutes, because I don't want to show you all the boring stuff again and again and again. I mean, I could show you how I sweep the leaves, but I think this will be boring if you see it a third time. So that's the reason why I think that the entire building process will take at least another year, maybe even longer. And what will I do after the house is finished? I don't know yet. I have my plans, of course. Big dream is I would love to build a houseboat, because this area here is full of lakes and little canals and full of water. And this is a big dream that I still have. But who knows, maybe one day when the house is finished, because I will need a place to store all my tools, so maybe I can store my tools in a houseboat. I don't know yet. The history of this little community. So many of you asked about the history of this community. What's this? Is it a German Schrebergarten? Schrebergarten is very typical German. You can look it up maybe, because it's too hard for me to explain. No, actually it is something that's been something like I looked it up, a weekend home area. 30 years ago, maybe even more, 1988. This entire area here was just nature protection area, and there was nothing. And even in GDR times, it has already been nature conservation area. And I don't know how familiar you are with GDR history. In the GDR, there was a huge organization, very important, and it was the State Security Service. The State Security Service in the GDR was more or less something like a secret police. Spying on everything, most of the time spying on the citizens of the GDR, because they wanted to keep everything under control, and so they tried to bring down a possible revolution as soon as possible. Well, in the end they failed, everybody knows. But over, I think, 40 years or whatever, the State Security Service here in the GDR was a really, really big and dangerous thing. So some of those working in this State Security Service decided we need to have a holiday or a weekend home area. And that's why they decided that this area here should become this area where they can build their own weekend homes. Although, as I said, it's been a nature conservation area already under German or under East German law. But as always in systems like these, some of them are more equal than others. And so they have been entitled to build their homes here, although it was protected. And this entire area here was completely full of those people from the State Security Service. Of course, over the years, now over the last 30 years, things have changed, and we are, for example, already the third or even fourth owners here of this little building. And most of those people already passed away or moved away and are not the owners anymore of those houses. But this is the history here of this little community. And this, for example, is the reason why I'm quite lucky here with this house standing in the front row. So we are facing directly the lake. There are even more houses, little houses behind us. And it was quite funny. The higher you've been in this state security service, the more you have been able to build in the front row. So the lower the level was, the more you had to build behind us. Just as I said, even in communism there were some people more equal than others. And the builder or the owner, the first owner of this house here, was quite a little bit, well, he was a little bit higher in the State Security Service, and that's the reason why he was allowed to build his tiny house here. So this is the history of this little community. Just as I said, over the last 30 years things have changed, and it is quite funny. In the 90s and even in the you say 0 years, so from 2000 to 2010. So there wasn't that much interest in little gardens or little weekend spots like these. But over the last 5 or even 10 years, they've become more and more popular. And nowadays it is really hard to find a little property like this here in this Berlin area. So keep in mind, this is 60 kilometers away from Berlin. So there are many people in the Berlin area looking for little weekend retreats like these. So I'm lucky. I found this house here something like 10 years ago. No, it's not 10, it's 7 years ago. And I got quite lucky. Anyway, I think that's it for this week. Thanks a lot again to my viewers and to my patrons. Next week will be as usual. Next week I will go on working on the porch. I hope I can install the new porch roof. And as well, I got already building material for a new porch wall and for the new French doors that are actually no French doors but large windows. So the plan is either to install the new roof, and if I ain't got the new roof, then I will start working on the front wall. And maybe I can even install the new windows. I don't know yet. Have a good week. Stay safe, stay healthy as always. And to my American people, go voting. And that's it for me for this week. See you.